Cause, a principle, aim, or movement that because of a deep commitment, one is prepared to defend or advocate. Karibu. Karibu is a Kiswahili word that means welcome. Welcome, you found yourself in a peaceful place, a place where you can grow and develop, and we hope grow and develop to your fullest potential. This is a podcast that we hope will expand your mind and raise your consciousness. Welcome to The Cause, conversations on music, history, and democracy. From a classroom to the community, from memory to movement, from a bench by the road to a bridge across generations, this is The Cause. Welcome to a special episode of The Cause podcast, where we gather not only to listen, but to remember, to reflect, and to renew our commitment to the unfinished work of justice. Today's episode carries us to February 16th, 2026, to a moment that was at once ceremonial and insurgent, commemorative and catalytic. The installation of a Toni Morrison Society bench by the road in honor of Dr. Charles Nilon and Mrs. Mildred Nilon. A bench. Simple in structure, sacred in meaning, a place to pause, to ponder, to bear witness. A place where memory sits down and refuses to move. But this bench is not about stillness. It is about motion. It is about the long journey of Black intellectual life at the University of Colorado Boulder. A journey that did not begin with recognition, but with resistance. Not with celebration, but with struggle. Before there was a Department of Ethnic Studies, there was a question. Before there was a Center for African and African American Studies, there was a demand. Before there were programs, majors and minors, there were people who refused to accept the absence of Black history, Black thought, and Black humanity in the curriculum of a major public university. Dr. Charles Nilon was one of those people. In 1969, when he helped establish CU Boulder's Black Studies program, he was not merely creating courses. He was carving intellectual space in an institution that had not yet learned how to hold the fullness of Black life. He was saying, in word and in deed, that the study of Black history is not an elective. It is essential. That the story of America cannot be told truthfully without the story of African Americans. That knowledge, if it is to be just, must be inclusive. And Mrs. Mildred Nilon, librarian, leader, guardian of knowledge, was doing parallel work in another register. She was opening doors. She was organizing access. She was ensuring that the archive would not remain silent, where it should speak. Together, they were building more than careers. They were building conditions. Conditions for Black students to see themselves in the institution. Conditions for future scholars to teach, to research, to imagine otherwise. Conditions for what we now call Black studies, African American studies, African studies to take root, to grow, to flourish. And to flourish it has. Today, the intellectual and institutional landscape of CU Boulder bears the imprint of their labor. The Department of Ethnic Studies, the Center for African and African American Studies, the classrooms, the conferences, the conversations. All of it stands on the foundation they helped to lay. But foundations are not monuments. Foundations are responsibilities. And that is why this episode, this special episode, matters. Because what you will hear today are not simply speeches. They are acts of remembrance. They are calls to conscience. They are invitations to continue the work. You will hear first from Chancellor Justin Schwartz, whose words situate the Nilons within the broader mission of the university, reminding us that institutions are not shaped not only by policy, but by people, not only by tradition, but by institutional transformation. Transformation. And then you will hear my own reflections, an offering, a meditation, a testimony to the enduring legacy of Dr. Charles and Mrs. Mildred Nilon, a recognition that what they began in 1969 is not finished in 2026, that Black studies is not a static field or discipline. It is a living practice, that the work of justice is not inherited, it is enacted. We must remember. We must remember that Black studies was born of struggle. We must remember that it was built by those who were often unseen. We must remember that its purpose is not only to study the world, but to change it. And we must imagine what it means to carry this legacy forward. We must imagine universities that are not merely diverse, but transformed. We must imagine knowledge that is not only accumulated, but liberated. The bench by the road invites us to sit, but it also calls us to rise. To rise with memory, to rise with purpose, to rise with a renewed commitment to the cause. Because the cause is not behind us. The cause is not abstract. The cause is not optional. The cause is justice. The cause is truth. The cause is the ongoing struggle to build institutions worthy of the people they serve. So listen closely and carefully. Listen for the echoes of the past and the voices of the present. Listen for the rhythm of responsibility moving through each word. Listen for the call that extends beyond this moment into the future we are still being asked to create. From the classroom to the community, from memory to movement, from a bench by the road to a bridge across generations. This is the cause. All right. Up first, we have the speech in honor of Dr. Charles Nilon and Mrs. Mildred Nilon, delivered by the University of Colorado Boulder Chancellor, Chancellor Justin Schwartz, my dear brother and friend. And so here's an example of us out in the community, building beloved community. And this speech comes from February the 16th, 2026. Without further ado, Chancellor Justin Schwartz on Dr. Charles Nilon and Mrs. Mildred Nilon and their contributions to the University of Colorado Boulder.
Good afternoon. Thank you for that. I have to say, it's the first time I've ever spoken in church. It's got me a little nervous. I am deeply honored and inspired to be here today on this beautiful day with this beautiful crowd to celebrate two beautiful people. Two extraordinary individuals who CU Boulder is proud to call buffs. I will also quote Toni Morrison. Every time someone said that, I'm like, I hope they don't do my quote. Toni Morrison said, "The function of freedom is to free someone else." Dr. Charles Nilon, CU Boulder's first Black professor, and Mildred Nilon, our first Black librarian, each embodied that truth in everything that they did. They were more than advocates. They were pioneers who fought tirelessly to ensure that the doors of higher education would open equally to all students, regardless of race or background. As we've heard, Professor Nilon joined the CU Boulder faculty as a professor of English in 1956 and went on to launch and chair the university's Black Studies program in the late 1960s, a legacy which thrives today. In 1962, Mildred joined the university as our first Black librarian. Together, they reached out to Black students, welcoming them to their home, offering mentorship, and that fundamentally important sense of community. And their fight to diversify our university was not an easy one, and their efforts were often met with mixed reactions from the administration at that time. Hearing the incredible testimonies from their children today just reinforces how important the work they did was for CU Boulder. Eventually, CU's administration came around and saw the light a little bit. In 1986, the CU Boulder Alumni Association awarded both Charles and Mildred the Robert L. Stearns Award in recognition of their extraordinary achievement and service to our university. In 2016, 60 years after he joined the faculty, an endowed scholarship was established in their names for students who are committed to advancing educational opportunities in under-resourced schools, especially those serving African American communities. Now, you've heard already today that this year marks CU Boulder's 150th anniversary. That means 1956 was 70 years ago. Sorry, Charlie. But think about that. That means CU Boulder went 80 years without a Black faculty member and has now reached 70 years with Black faculty. So more than half of CU's history was without Black faculty. Dr. Nilon joined 9 years after Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in Major League Baseball, 7 years after Jackie Robinson won the most valuable player in Major League Baseball. So I think it's fair to say that in its history, CU Boulder was often late. But I think what we're saying today is we will be late no more. Throughout this year, we are going to continue to recognize the visionaries, advocates, and luminaries like the Nilons who helped shape us into the institution we are today. Buffs whose influence we will continue to build on in the future. Because we recognize that our strength has always come from those who were bold enough to imagine a better and more inclusive future. Charles and Mildred Nilon remind us that progress is not a gift. It is a responsibility for us to accept and pass forward. So I hope that this bench is an invitation to each of us to consider, what will we do to reflect the same courage, the same commitment to justice, and the same unwavering belief that education belongs to everyone. So thank you to the museum for hosting us today. Thank you to the Morrison Society for bringing us together today. And most importantly, thank you all for showing up and showing up just how important this moment is, not just as a point in history, right, but as an arrow and a trajectory for all of us moving forward. Thank you.
Ooh. All right, Chancellor. Chancellor Schwartz, Chancellor Jay, I see you, I feel you. Powerful, powerful words from the Chancellor of the University of Colorado Boulder. And we are celebrating, we are honoring Dr. Charles Nilon and Mrs. Mildred Nilon. Up next, my own speech, which I delivered at the Toni Morrison Society Bench by the Road commemoration and celebration of the lives and legacy of Dr. Charles Nilon and Mrs. Mildred Nilon. Here we go.
How y'all doing? Everybody okay? This is called When History Has No Monument, We Must Create One. Friends and family, elders and allies, colleagues and students, we gather beside a bench, not a monument of marble, not a tower of bronze, but a bench, a place to sit, a place to rest, a place to remember. And yet, this bench is not small, it is vast. It is a geography of memory placed deliberately in public space, where the wind of the Rocky Mountains moves freely, and where one of the great stories of this city has been buried, where history has often been whispered when it should have been declared. And so, today, we declare that Dr. Charles Nilon and Mrs. Mildred Nilon walked these roads when they were rocky and narrow. We declare that they taught in classrooms where the air was thin, not because of altitude alone, but because of absence and sometimes negligence. We declare that they loved this place enough to demand that it become more than it was. This bench is not merely furniture. It is an ethic. It is a summons. It is, in the spirit of Toni Morrison's remarkable vision, a refusal to let amnesia masquerade as innocence. When Charles Nilon arrived at the University of Colorado Boulder in 1956, he entered an institution that had never before appointed an African-American professor. He stood in those early years as often the only one, the only black faculty member, one of very few black intellectuals on the Boulder campus. He taught literature in rooms not built with him in mind. And yet, he did not shrink or shirk his duties. In the late 1960s, at a moment when students across this nation were insisting that universities teach the full story of America's triumphs and tragedies, Professor Nilon helped to launch CU's Black Studies program. He did not simply support it. He built it. He directed it. He gave it structure and substance. He insisted that the study of black life, black thought, black history, black culture, and black art was not a supplement to education, it was education. Black studies was and remains an argument. An argument that the curriculum must tell the truth. An argument that democracy requires memory. An argument that the university must not only serve power, but people. Must not only serve the haves, but the have-nots. That early Black Studies program would grow. It would evolve. It would become part of what is now the Department of Ethnic Studies, my tenure home. Institutions change slowly, but they do change. And they change because someone dares to imagine them otherwise. Charles Nilon imagined otherwise. But Professor Nilon did not only build programs, he built people. In an era when Black students were few, when their presence could be met by indifference or hostility, he and Mrs. Mildred Nilon offered something quite radical: recognition. To see someone is no small act. To see a Black student in a lecture hall where they are the only one, to see a young scholar doubting their place in an institution that has rarely affirmed them, to see potential where others only see inconvenience. The Nilons saw, and because they saw, they nurtured. Because they nurtured, they transformed. Mrs. Mildred Nilon, as the first African-American librarian at CU Boulder, also expanded the meaning of access. Access to books, access to knowledge, access to belonging. She understood that the archive is not neutral, that what is cataloged and what is forgotten reflects power. Her leadership in the library was not merely administrative, it was ethical. It was a quiet insistence that the doors of knowledge remained open. Together they confronted housing discrimination in this city. Together they carved space where space was denied. Their home became more than an address, as you have already heard. It became refuge. It became fellowship. It became possibility. And so this bench honors not only achievement, it honors hospitality. It honors mentorship. It honors the labor of love that sustains movements long after official histories have been written and Black folk have been reduced to footnotes and forgotten casualties. I don't know if y'all can hear me. I don't know if y'all can hear me. About to pop my collar, Judge. They're gonna make me take off my shoes. I feel like I'm at home, you see? Why a bench? That's the question. Why a bench? I'm gonna say it one more time, because somebody ain't listening like they supposed to have been. Why a bench? Because a bench invites pause. A bench asks us to sit with what we might otherwise hurry past. A bench by the road interrupts the illusion that the road has always been welcoming. Toni Morrison reminded us that when a history has no monument, we must create one. Woo. When suffering has no marker, we must mark it. When courage has no plaque, we must name it. Oh boy, this bench This bench is a public theology of remembrance. It tells us that the story of Boulder is incomplete without including the story of the Nilons. It tells us that the story of the University of Colorado is unfinished without the intellectual insurgency of black studies. It tells us that memory is a moral practice. Memory is not nostalgia. Memory is responsibility. Ooh, can you hear me now? I better leave this alone. I don't want to get nobody in trouble. Getting in some good trouble, you know. Like the Nilons, huh? I humbly stand before you, not only as a professor of black studies, but as the founder and the director of the Center for African and African American Studies. It is a center born in the shadow of the intellectual lineage that Dr. Charles and Mrs. Mildred Nilon helped to establish. I acknowledge that. Legacy. I didn't come out here. I inherited something, you see. I take it so seriously. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you. What they seeded, we now store it. What they imagined, we now institutionalize. What they dared, we now defend. The center is not an accident. It is an inheritance. It exists because someone insisted that black thought belongs at the heart of the university. It exists because the study of African and African American life is not marginal to democracy, it is central to it. But legacy is not automatic. It requires vigilance. It requires imagination. It requires that we resist the temptation to treat diversity as decoration rather than transformation. The bench does not ask us to admire the past and then quickly move on. It asks us to continue the work, to widen the circle, to deepen the curriculum, to protect the vulnerable, to teach with courage and conviction. Ooh, I'm closing. I'm closing. That's okay. That's all right. I don't want to scare people at your church, Joanne. I don't want to scare them off. They're nice people in Boulder. It's okay. The sun is going down. I better get out of town. It's tight, but it's right, y'all. It's tight, but it's right. Y'all better make sure to walk me to my car. Oh! Yeah, ain't that many of us out here. And everybody know me, you know what I mean? They can see me coming. Oh, yes. I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm not gonna mess up your program. I'm not gonna mess up your program, baby. Don't worry. They messed up putting me up here, Jill. I don't know what, you know. It's Black History Month. Got me talking about black people in Boulder who left a legacy. Ain't that what I'm trying to do every day? Humble though I may be, raggedy though I may be, humble with it. Oh God, I better stop. Let me close out. I just got a little bit more. I feel like Jackie Robinson. Boy, you just throw the ball anywhere near me, I'm gonna try to knock it out the box. You know how he used to twirl the bat and saunter from base to base, baby, huh? Whatever you do, you better do it with some style, you see. Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. So I invite you, when you pass this bench in days and years to come, sit. Sit and remember Dr. Charles Nilon standing at the front of a classroom where he was not expected. Sit and remember Mrs. Mildred Nilon, organizing knowledge in spaces not designed for her librarianship. Sit and remember that justice often begins quietly, in syllabi drafted, in students mentored, in doors held open. And then rise. Rise with renewed commitment to build institutions worthy of the people they serve. Rise with their refusal to let history be sanitized or erased. Rise with the understanding that remembrance without action is sentimentality, but remembrance joined to responsibility is transformation. Ooh, this bench by the road. This bench is by the road. The road continues. May we walk it with the courage of the Nilons. May we widen it for those who follow. May we make of this university, this city, this nation a place where everyone is encouraged to contribute to the building of the beloved community. Thank you.
From the classroom to the community, from memory to movement, this is the cause. This entire episode has been an example of us out in the community, building beloved community, sharing. This is an exercise in public education. So we're not just on the Boulder campus, we are out in the Boulder community delivering these speeches under the auspices of the Museum of Boulder. Powerful, powerful, powerful. As we come to the close of this special episode, we return to the bench, not as spectators, but as stewards, not as listeners alone, but as inheritors of a living legacy. What we have heard today are more than speeches. They are echoes. Echoes of a moment in the late 1960s when Black students and Black faculty, with courage in their voices and conviction in their vision, insisted that the university must change. They are echoes of Dr. Charles Nilon, who helped build the Black Studies program in 1969, not as an addendum to the academy, but as a reorientation of its moral compass. They are echoes of Mrs. Mildred Nilon, who understood that knowledge must be made accessible if it is to be meaningful, that the archive must open if the truth is to breathe. And yet, echoes are not enough. We must carry the sound forward. We must carry the work forward. We must carry the cause forward. Because what began as Black Studies has not remained still. It has evolved. It has expanded. It has deepened into what we now know as the Center for African and African American Studies, a space where research meets responsibility, where art meets analysis, where history meets hope, a space that insists again and again that the study of Black life is inseparable from the struggle for a more just and democratic world. Let us be clear. Institutions do not sustain themselves. Legacies do not preserve themselves. Justice does not advance itself. People do. People who teach, people who organize, people who imagine, people who refuse to forget. So, as you leave this episode, I invite you to ask yourself, what does it mean to sit on that bench and then to rise from it. To rise with memory that does not fade, to rise with knowledge that does not retreat, to rise with a commitment that does not waver. Let us build classrooms that tell the truth. Let us build communities that practice justice. Let us build institutions that honor those who came before us by transforming the world they left us. From Black Studies in the late 1960s to the Center for African and African American Studies in the 2020s, the arc is not automatic. It is made by minds that question, by hearts that care, by hands that build. The bench is behind us. The road is before us. And the work is ours. From the classroom to the community, from memory to movement. This is the cause. Join us as we build the beloved community on the Boulder campus, all throughout the Boulder community, all throughout the Denver metropolitan area, all throughout the United States of America, and even internationally. This is the cause, the great cause.
Thank you for joining us for the Cause podcast with Dr. Raylan Rabaka. For your letters, questions, and suggestions regarding the podcast, email us thecause@gmail.com. CAAAS. The Cause podcast with Dr. Raylan Rabaka is produced and edited by John Arnold and is a production of the Center for African and African American Studies, The Cause, at the University of Colorado Boulder. For more information, visit us online at colorado.edu/center/cause. CAAAS.
Class is in session, so come and get your lesson. The Cause podcast. I love that. Do you love that?